True confidence is not loud. It does not need to shout. It does not need to constantly prove itself to others. True confidence is often quiet, calm, and almost invisible. But when you encounter it, you feel its weight. People who truly carry confidence do not chase attention. They draw it effortlessly. They do not compete with others for validation, because their foundation is stronger than approval. This is why it seems so rare, because what most people mistake for confidence is just performance. It is bravado, arrogance, or insecurity disguised as strength. But true confidence, what Niccolo Machiavelli would have called a secret weapon, works in silence and control. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Most people spend their lives looking for ways to appear confident. They adjust their body, language, force their voice to sound more powerful, or rehearse lines to seem in control. But here is the truth. Those are surface tricks, and while they may help for a short moment, they collapse when tested. Because confidence is not built on appearance, it is built on a deep internal knowing, a kind of unshakable ground that tells you that you can face whatever comes. And this is where Machiavelli's insight becomes useful. He believed that those who quietly mastered themselves, who could control their impulses, their words, and their emotions, were far more powerful than those who shouted or displayed empty bravado. In other words, true confidence is not about how loudly you speak, but how little you need to. Think of the people you've met in your own life who carried this kind of presence. The ones who didn't need to dominate a room to be noticed. The ones who spoke less but carried more weight. When they finally did, they didn't rush to prove themselves. They didn't explain every move they made. And they didn't collapse when faced with doubt. They had a steadiness, a calm strength that made you naturally trust them. This is not an accident, it is a cultivated power. And the secret is that this kind of confidence is available to anyone willing to stop chasing the outside and begin building within. So, what is the true core of this kind of confidence? It is control. Control not in the sense of controlling other people, but in the sense of controlling yourself, your reactions, your emotions, and your impulses. Imagine two people in the same stressful situation. One explodes, shouts, panics, and demands attention. The other breathes, observes, and speaks calmly when necessary. Which one appears more powerful? Which one do you trust more? Confidence is born in those moments where restraint speaks louder than excess. When you can resist the urge to overreact, when you don't give away your emotions cheaply, you show that you are not dependent on the chaos around you. You become the anchor in the storm. Machiavelli suggested that those who can master appearances without being enslaved by them are the ones who rise to power. In modern words, this means learning how to carry yourself with quiet strength while not being desperate for recognition. This is the paradox of true confidence. It grows strongest when you stop obsessing over how others see you. You begin to shift the focus from how can I look confident to how can I be unshaken, no matter how I look. That shift changes everything because it builds confidence not as a mask, but as a foundation. There is a psychological truth here as well. Most insecurity comes from an internal voice that whispers, what if I am not enough? What if they see through me? That voice pushes people into overcompensation, trying too hard, speaking too much, exaggerating their strength. But when you train yourself to listen to that voice without obeying it, you take back control. You realize that the voice of doubt is not your enemy. It is simply a habit of thought, and habits can be rewired. Every time you choose restraint over impulse, calm over chaos, clarity over noise, You are laying bricks in the foundation of true confidence. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone insults you in front of others. An insecure person, desperate to protect their image, lashes out instantly. They need to prove they are strong, so they respond loudly and emotionally. But someone with true confidence does something very different. They may pause, they may even smile slightly, and they may choose not to respond at all. That silence is louder than any words. Why? Because it shows they are not controlled by others. Their sense of worth does not depend on defending themselves against every attack. This is Machiavelli's secret weapon in action, not reacting when others expect you to. Because nothing unsettles people more than someone they cannot provoke. This is why silence, restraint, and patience are not signs of weakness, but of immense strength. It is easy to shout, to argue, to defend yourself. It takes far more power to remain calm, to wait, and to act only when the moment is right. And this is where true confidence becomes not just a personal trait, but a strategy for life. By choosing not to reveal everything, not to expose every thought, not to react to every push, you gain control over the game. You are no longer playing by someone else's rules, you are setting your own. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. True confidence also means being comfortable with not being liked by everyone. This is one of the hardest lessons for most people. Insecurity thrives on approval. It feeds on being accepted, being praised, being recognized. But those who carry deep confidence understand that being liked by all is not only impossible, it is unnecessary. They understand that respect is worth more than popularity, and respect is earned not through constant agreement, but through consistency, self-control, and authenticity. Machiavelli knew that those who tried to please everyone ended up weak, because in the pursuit of universal approval, they lost their core. So real confidence is not about making everyone happy, it is about being unshakably yourself, even when it costs you some approval. You might be asking now, if true confidence is this powerful, why don't more people have it? The answer is simple, but uncomfortably takes practice, discipline, and the willingness to feel uncomfortable. It is far easier to chase quick validation than to build inner strength. It is far easier to speak loudly than to remain silent. It is far easier to let emotions run wild than to master them. But everything easy fades quickly. The confidence built on likes, attention, and noise disappears the moment those things are taken away. The confidence built on self-mastery, however, stays with you in silence, in chaos, in loss, and in victory. That is why it is rare, but that is also why it is so valuable. And here is where Machiavelli's perspective still applies today. In his world's power was about survival, influence, and strategy. In our world, power often comes down to presence, respect, and control. The same principles apply. Those who rush, who reveal too much, who show their emotions too easily, are easy to predict and easy to control. Those who remain calm, patient, and selective with their energy are harder to move, harder to manipulate, and therefore more powerful. The same applies to confidence. If you are shaken by every opinion, every judgment, every glance, then your confidence is an illusion. But if you can remain steady, even when criticized, even when doubted, then your confidence is real. At the heart of it, confidence is not about never feeling doubt. It is about learning to carry doubt without collapsing under it. It is about recognizing the fear, the insecurity, the temptation to react, and choosing to act with intention instead. That choice, repeated over and over again, builds a kind of quiet strength that no one can take away. And once you have it, you stop needing to prove it. That is why people who truly embody confidence rarely brag about it. They don't need to. Their presence does the work for them. Confidence is not just about how you hold yourself when others are watching. Real confidence reveals itself in the quiet, private moments when no one is paying attention. It is in the way you handle failure when no applause follows the way. You continue even when no one is there to notice your effort. This is why so many people fail to develop it. They think confidence is about performance in front of others. But in truth, it is about discipline in solitude. What you practice when no one is watching becomes the energy you carry when everyone is. If you crumble in private, you will always search for validation in public. But if you build yourself in silence, you will stand taller in every room without needing to announce it. This is where the true power of Machiavelli's secret weapon lies. He understood that human beings are deeply influenced by perception. People are quick to assume that those who appear calm must know more. Those who remain unshaken must have greater strength. By controlling your own behavior, by mastering your impulses, you shape the perception others have of you. And here is the remarkable truth. It does not matter if you feel doubt inside. What matters is that you carry yourself with composure. Over time, your mind begins to match your posture. You begin to believe in the strength you are projecting, until it is no longer projection but reality. Confidence is not only something you feel, it is something you grow into by how you act. Consistently. Now consider this. Most people overestimate the value of words and underestimate the value of silence. They believe that to appear strong, they must speak quickly, argue fiercely, and prove their point in every conversation. But words often reveal more than they should. They expose anxiety, insecurity, and desperation. Silence, on the other hand, conceals all of this. When you are not quick to explain yourself, not quick to argue, not quick to prove, you suddenly appear mysterious, unshakable, and powerful. People begin to wonder what you know that they do not. They begin to respect the space you take up, even if you say nothing. This is not manipulation, this is presence. And presence is one of the rarest and most valuable traits in a world where everyone is screaming for attention. But let's go deeper. Why do we crave validation so much? Why is it so hard to let go of the need to be liked? Because from childhood, many of us are conditioned to believe that our worth depends on approval. We are praised when we succeed, punished when we fail. And slowly we learn that love and respect must be earned by performance. But true confidence is born when you decide to break this cycle. When you begin to realize that your value is not determined by applause, but by your own steady self. Machiavelli's secret weapon becomes clear here. Do not need everyone's approval to be powerful. In fact, seeking approval weakens you. The less you depend on others for validation, the more independent and confident you become. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is competing to be noticed. People speak loudly, tell exaggerated stories, try to impress with their appearance. But then, in the corner, sits someone who is calm, unbothered, not desperate for attention. Who do people notice first? Often, it is the one who doesn't try. Why? Because confidence that doesn't chase attention creates curiosity. And curiosity pulls people in stronger than noise ever could. This is the paradox of true confidence. It attracts by not chasing. It influences by not begging. It dominates by simply existing in its own grounded way. Another critical piece of confidence is the ability to endure discomfort. Many people mistake comfort for confidence. They think they will finally feel confident when everything goes their way. But confidence is not built in comfort. It is tested in discomfort. You find out how strong you are, not when life is easy, but when it is hard. When rejection comes, when plans fail, when people criticize, that is when confidence either collapses or grows. Those who train themselves to sit with discomfort, to breathe through the pain, to remain calm when chaos arrives, build a deeper kind of strength. They no longer fear difficulty because they know they can endure it. And this endurance creates a kind of unshakable aura. People can feel it around you, even if they cannot explain it. Machiavelli's insight into human behavior teaches us another truth. People are always watching for signs of weakness. They may not say it, but they notice how you react when challenged. If you panic, if you overreact, if you desperately explain yourself, they sense instability. But if you remain calm, measured, and in control, even when things go wrong, people sense authority. This is why confidence often decides leadership, not titles, not positions, but presence. Those who can stay composed when others break down naturally become the ones others follow. And yet, this is not about pretending to be perfect. In fact, part of true confidence is the ability to admit mistakes without collapsing. Insecurity hides errors, denies flaws, and blames others. Confidence accepts responsibility, learns, and grows. Why? Because someone who is truly confident knows that one mistake does not define them. They are not fragile, so they don't need to protect themselves with excuses. This honesty is powerful because it shows strength without arrogance. And paradoxically, it makes others trust you more, because they see that you are real, not pretending. Let's think about it another way. Confidence is less about what you show and more about what you don't need to show. You don't need to prove intelligence because you know it will be seen over time. You don't need to prove strength because it will reveal itself in action. You don't need to prove worth because it is not up for debate. This lack of need creates freedom. You are no longer trapped in constant performance, and that freedom itself becomes magnetic. People sense when you are free from the hunger for approval, and they respect it because deep down they wish they had it too. There is another layer to this: emotional control. Machiavelli observed that people who are easily angered or easily swayed are predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. But someone who controls their emotions controls their power. This does not mean suppressing feelings, but mastering them. When you can feel anger without being consumed by it, when you can feel fear without being ruled by it, when you can feel sadness without collapsing, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. And this control radiates confidence. It shows people that you are not only aware of yourself, but that you can lead yourself through storms. That is why others naturally trust those who remain calm in crisis. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for stability. The world today constantly pushes people into comparison. Social media highlights curated lives, making everyone feel like they are behind. But confidence cannot survive in comparison. It must be rooted in individuality. You cannot be confident if you are always measuring yourself against someone else's timeline, someone else's appearance, someone else's success. True confidence grows when you stop competing with others and start competing with yourself. When you wake up every day asking, how can I be stronger, calmer, clearer than I was yesterday? That is where growth happens, and growth builds. The kind of confidence that no external comparison can touch. Think of confidence like a tree. A tree does not rush to grow faster than the one beside it. It simply roots itself deeper, reaches for sunlight, and grows steadily. Some trees grow taller, some grow wider, but each stands in its own time. A tree does not collapse because another tree is taller. It continues its growth, unbothered. This is how true confidence works. When you stop measuring your worth against others, your growth accelerates. And with growth comes strength. And with strength comes confidence. Machiavelli's secret weapon reminds us of something essential. That power is not about appearances, but about foundations. And when it comes to confidence, the foundation is always stronger than the mask. If you rely on tricks, appearances, and noise, your confidence will shatter when tested. But if you rely on self-control, endurance, emotional mastery, and independence, your confidence will survive any storm. That is the kind of confidence that changes lives. So the question is, how do you build it? It begins with small choices. Choosing silence over unnecessary words. Choosing patience over reaction. Choosing to stand tall even when you feel uncertain. Choosing to keep moving forward even when you fail. Each small choice is a brick, and over time, those bricks become a fortress. Confidence is not given, it is built day by day, choice by choice, until it becomes who you are. And here is the most empowering truth. Anyone can build it. You do not need to be born with it. You do not need perfect circumstances. You only need the willingness to practice. Even if you start with nothing, if you practice calmness, patience, restraint, and self-respect, your confidence will grow. Slowly at first, then suddenly it becomes undeniable. And when that happens, you will no longer need to seek approval, because you will know in your bones that you are enough. That is why Machiavelli called it a weapon. Because once you have it, you no longer fear the opinions of others. You no longer depend on their applause, and you no longer collapse in their criticism. You move with a strength that cannot be faked, and that strength changes everything: how you walk, how you speak, how you live. That is the most powerful trait of true confidence, and it is within your reach if you are willing to build it.